gold, 30 lumber shop, 160 resources versus a 350 gold TP. No thanks. No chance I was actually gonna go for that. If you look, I do some focusing with my MK, and he's gonna be able to staff his hunt out. Always utilize an MK bolt. I'm telling you, that bolt on the MK is savage. It owns. No doubt about it. It is savage ownage. If you look now, I do have a Sork and another rifle coming out to my base. And basically where I'm at right now is I have army superiority. If he fought me in a direct fight, 1 versus 1, he would lose. He would lose his army. He would lose every unit he had. I have way more units than him, because he is teching to bear. Or he's getting some dryads and then teching to bear. So basically, he doesn't have any sort of army advantage on me at all. And right now I'm just sort of pushing him back as far as I can. Then I'm going to run back. And essentially, I'm going to creep out this merchant. The important thing to remember is when you're creeping with your opponent nearby, you need to be confident of 2 things. 1, you need to be confident that you can kill the creeps and them. That means you have to have a good army superiority size. If you figure the creeps are about 10 food, you need to have at least that much food extra over them, which I do. So it's really not that big of a concern. So I pull the creep out, and what happens is he's going to get stuck on a lot of the creeps, and he can't really run through the creeps to fight me. And now I'm just going to ignore the creeps, and because he has all the aggro of the creeps, I'm going to be able to push him back and do some damage. As you can see, I get the both the items from this level 5 creep, which is very nice, and I start just focusing down this KOTG, which he staffs out. But now I'm going to start focusing down this DH, and it's going to work out pretty nicely, simply because I'm going to force a TP here, and I got the vast majority of the kills from this creep camp, forcing him to staff out his KOTG, which makes him use a lot of Moonwell juice, level 2 on my MK, and force him to TP. That is a huge advantage. Right there, that battle, I basically won the game. If I don't mess up from here on out, and I creep another camp, and I get a slightly larger army, and I push his base, I've essentially won the game at this point. At least that's how I look at it. This is a huge advantage to have, especially at this point in the game. I mean, as soon as Night Elf has bears, obviously anything can change. Just because bears are very powerful versus Riflemen, and they're just a very solid unit in general. So I'm going to creep out this camp here. What I should have done, but didn't do, is I should have power crept the MK and just moved my AM away, because that way I would have had a lot closer to level 3. Basically, you want a level 3 MK. That 1 bolt does a lot longer stun, it does a lot more damage, and it basically is just a way better version of the level 1 bolt. Level 3 bolt is pretty preposterous as a spell, and as you probably have seen in action versus Undead with Paladin, etc., it is a pretty powerful nuke that rivals any other race's nuke, so I do highly suggest it. Okay, the first thing I do, I figure he probably doesn't have a TP. He's out of his base, and he used his TP already. So the way I figure it is I'm going to take advantage of this by securing a push space. So the first thing I think is I remember there's an AP. I take down the AP, and I take down the war he just uprooted. His mistake, he shouldn't have uprooted this war until his army got there, but I guess it's just a slight mistake. It's not too big of a deal. Now, he has his army. I have to back up a little. If the Night Elf's fighting in between his buildings with Dryads like that, it makes it very hard to keep your army under control and make it so that you can have your army fighting him with his Moonwells, focusing units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run around and I'm going to set up sort of a little positioning thing over here on the left-hand side of his base, and I'm going to push in. When you're doing any sort of push with human, especially versus Night Elf, you want to take it slow. You have basically no reason to be rushing. If you rush into his base, you're going to be fucked. And I guess I'm not going to push in right away. I guess I'm going to go buy a healing scroll is my plan, which is, I think, actually really smart by me. I only have 2 priests, so they're not going to be able to keep healing all my rifles, because I'm going to have to keep pulling them back from Dryad focus. So it's a really good idea here to get that healing scroll in a clutch situation. I think I have to end up using the healing scroll, one of my healing scrolls at least, to try and save my MK, which will die in a bit, but that's okay. So here comes my army, and he has bears now. So basically, I'm gonna have to fight a little bit down here. I'm gonna reposition my MK so he's not getting focused by the bears, and I'm gonna start focusing these bears down little by little. My army, look at I have pretty excellent position right now. My MK is more or less in the front. I don't bother microing my foots, but look, I just pulled back a rifleman that was gonna be focused by a bear. I'm gonna pull back a rifleman on the right because essentially you don't want to have those riflemen there. I bought an invulnerability potion, so I'm gonna be able to keep it, and I just got level 3. Basically, I use a healing stroll now because I want to save my MK and my rifleman. I'm trying to micro my priest, and right now what I'm essentially doing is just trying to keep a handle on the game. My positioning isn't perfect. My water elemental's in back, which is a huge problem. I'm probably gonna lose my MK, but I got this one last bolt off, which is gonna allow me to be able to kill his demon hunter. My MK. If I was a little smarter and I didn't let it get out of my control group right there, he would have survived. So I do suggest keeping a little better tab on it. Also, if you notice, I made one Spellbreaker. That Spellbreaker serves only for the purpose of stealing rejuvenation on the DH or his heroes or his bears, etc. Rejuvenation's pretty ridiculous. So it's always good to have that 1 or 2 Spellbreaker there to just be able to stop rejuvenation. Basically, at this point, the game's going pretty well in my favor. I lost my MK, but he lost his DH. You're much better off losing your MK at this point in the game than your AM, because the AM is one of the strongest heroes for pushing in Warcraft. Water Elementals in combination with Brilliance Aura on your Sorks and your Priests makes you very, very capable of pushing into their base. Another thing to notice, I'm macroing. Macro is so important. So often do I see amateur players who are not keeping in touch with their macro. They have 1,000 gold while they're pushing their base. The only reason this push is 1/10 as successful as it is because if you look what's going on, there is a constant stream of units coming into his base from my base, which is allowing me to keep up a very nice push. I'm constantly pushing in. I have an advantage. I'm pushing. I'm making more units. And then as I make more units, he's making more units, but because of that, I still have my advantage because our units are relatively equal. I say Rusty. He says Rusty. I say same, just so we don't get into an argument. I always agree when people say something like that, so they're like, oops, I guess he's Rusty too, whatever. The KOTG is not really a recommended choice, second, in my opinion. If you look also, I also manually choose what to heal with my priest. And the main reason I do that is simply so that you want to be just manually choosing what to heal with your priest basically all times, because it allows you to keep tabs on exactly how you're using or what you're healing. If you pull back a rifle, you put the priest on it, the rifle's gonna be able to get back into the fight. And if you just keep theoretically pulling back, put a priest on it, pulling back, put a priest on it, eventually your army is going to be continually getting a full HP. This is bad positioning. What I just did, I put my rifles too far back, which it doesn't really matter at this point. Your Sork should be behind your rifles, and your Water Elementals and your MK should be in front of everything. That's sort of the order, more or less, of how you do things. Here's my MK, focusing down this KOTG. Mana Potion, Bolt, and then Bash. The reason I went Bash is because I didn't have an Expo and it doesn't cost mana. My friend, I always quote Vex Marquise, I guess, he says, you're never going to be disappointed going Bash. Very true. You never know when you're going to get that one lucky Bash, you're going to kill the DH, and that's going to be the game right there, just because you went Bash over Clap. So, that's that. That's a little rifle caster. That's a little rifle caster strat that is very common in older replays. If any of you have Evercraft, go download that and get some old replays of SK.Heman, which is the Smurf I was playing on as a joke, because I figured I was going to go rifles anyway, so I figured I'd play old SK.Heman strats. Or Kenshin.Werra is a good rifles player. Kenshin.Werra's rifles are pretty legendary in my opinion. They're remarkable, actually. I have orgasms to his rifle micro. It is absurd how good he micros them. So I suggest going and checking that out. And yeah, so that's my little audio. I hope all of you enjoyed it. Yeah. Talk to you guys later. Bye.